Hello everybody, it's Jason Donnelly, aka DJ Puzzle, reporting for my website iPadLoops.com, and this is my YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to have a look at the basics of sampling vinyl on an iPad using Beatmaker 3, and this vinyl record has a sound source. Why this record? Well, Polish jazz is awesome, and there are a lot of isolated drum samples on here. So, with that said, the first thing you want to do, if you have a mixer like this, is you want to set your gain staging. Okay, gain staging is basically adjusting your gain knobs and making sure that you leave enough headroom here, because jazz and vinyl, they're both very dynamic. So you want to leave some headroom there so that you don't get any distortion or clipping. Set the interface gains as well, and now go to Beatmaker 3. Okay, open a new session, hit the sampling page, close that little window there, the browser, and now hit pad 1 and record. Now set the hardware input, and we're going to use threshold record, and we're going to turn the threshold way down, because I kind of want this to start recording right away. What threshold recording does is it waits for that audio to reach, the volume of that audio to reach a certain threshold before it starts recording. I've got it all the way down, so it's going to record right away as soon as I send it the signal. So I'm going to use this cue button here, and I'm going to cue up. The beauty of DJ mixers, you can cue things up in the headphones before sending it on over to the iPad. I'm going to cue up the section that I want to sample. I'm going to get the kick and snare from this section because it's a really cool drum solo, and drum solos are great for kicks and snares. See, that just started recording as soon as I hit the record button. So I'm going to grab this drum solo and we're going to go in and find an isolated kick and snare drum. Ooh, there's the kick drum. Now let's stop and move on to the next sample. Now let's cue up our next sample. Okay, but I'm going to put this on pad 3 because I know I'm going to want that ride symbol on pad 3. So I'm going to go ahead and already assign this recording to pad 3 just to save us that little extra step. And there's our bass sample. And there's a nice ride sample. Boom. Stop the recording. Now, let's move on over to Beatmaker 3 and start editing. First thing you want to do is get organized and start naming and saving things. I'll save the bank first. Call it vinyl kit. Okay, boom, vinyl kit. Now we're gonna save the session. Vinyl groove. Now the session is everything contained. Banks, samples, and whatnot. You want to make sure these are all selected here so you can save all those supporting documents into that session folder. Now, we are getting organized. Aren't you proud of me? So here's something to point out. I want to make sure that you guys know about this Documents tab here, Documents screen. That's where you're going to find your session, and that's where you're going to find all the supporting documents, samples, and recordings. So whenever in doubt, when looking for files, simply go to that Documents, okay, the Documents page, and you'll find what you're looking for. Hopefully, if it's there, it'll be there. Okay, so let's go with pad 2 for the snare, and go to Documents. Okay. Again, Documents, Vinyl Groove. Now let's look around for the recordings. Grab the drum solo again for For pad 2, it's going to be our snare. And then pad 4, we'll go back to the second recording and load that, because that's got the bass sound that I want to use. And now we've got all the recordings mapped out on each of the pads. And let's go in and just edit out the kick drum real quick. I know it's over here somewhere. Just move that over and zoom in to find the beginning and end of that sample. Now the next thing we want to do is trim it and remove all the excess audio. So we hit edit. Now look, if this menu is open, you don't see that trim button. Make sure that's closed. That might throw you off later. So that's just something to look for. Hit trim and now normalize and boom. Now we can fine tune our start and end point here and use zero snap. Now zero snap will move the locators to the zero crossing. There's also grid snap and no snap. A grid snap you'd use if you had things cut precisely to grid, like something recorded to a specific tempo where everything lined up to a grid. So that's that. But we are going to use zero snap. So we're going to grab the snare drum now. And it's over there at the end where the kick was. Alright, so move your locator over. Zoom in. And there's even a tom in there. If we want the tom, we could grab that as well. But for this video, we'll keep things short. I'm just going to grab the snare drum for now. And once you get a pretty, close selection, you can hit edit, okay? And zoom in and trim again. Okay. Again, using zero snap so that we land on the zero crossing. And normalize. No, snare drum, kick and snare, beautiful. Let's move on to the ride. Now, I'm going to normalize it first because it's just so quiet. I think let's make it easier for me to see everything and hear it while I'm editing. Now, there was a ride hit somewhere around here. No, it's further in. There it is. Ooh, that's a nice one. Getting lots of vinyl grit, crackles and snaps and pops. Lots of vinyl grit in this one. Lots of static and crackles. So one thing I've been doing is I've been selecting the end here and fading it out. That is just to ensure that there will not be a click at the end of these samples. And there's a nice long sustained bass note and lots of vinyl crunchiness inside there, a little bit of static and crackle. So again, fade that out and that will make sure there won't be a click at the end of that file. Alright, so now we've trimmed all our samples. Now let's go ahead and assign hold under the trigger option here. And what hold will do is it'll allow us to use the amplitude envelope to shape how these behave. So when you trigger them, so you see we'll get a, it's called a note off release. Okay, so you could also, if you want, let's go ahead and use live stretch on each one of these. And if you want, you can EQ the sounds using a filter. Got a high pass on the snare to cut some of the lows. And same thing on the ride. And if you want, you could even use a low pass on the bass to roll off some of the highs on that. Okay, there you have it. So that's pretty much our sample bank, or our kit, sorry, in a nutshell. Now, go here and save. Remember, you gotta just save, always save, okay? Save as, boom. And now you included all these recordings and samples, okay, in that last save, and now they're in the folder, and we can rename these now, and we can go in. I know that one's the kick, so here's the ride. It's good to be organized. That's a ride sample. Now we go down here, and there's a bass. I'm just doing this real quick for you folks. You might find a better workflow. Just trying to give you the general idea as to how you can navigate around through these menus and through the files and rename them and get organized. Let's save again. I always save. Save happy. So you don't want to lose anything. You see what I'm saying? So we're all good. Again, documents. Boom. You can see your sessions, your banks, your samples. All that stuff's going to be right there, okay? And it's ready for you at that point to load into other slots, into tracks and whatnot. It's all ready for you. Make sure you save. That'll put it in those folders. Okay? So now I'm going to use this keyboard. Alright, I see it's a little quiet. We're not really hearing much here. So I'm just going to go under modulations and bypass the velocity, the note velocity. Just a quick fix. We'll get our samples nice and loud when I hit that key. Just a real consistent, loud velocity. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to record a performance. Record the bass line. As you could do that obviously straight from here, from the pads in the app. I'm going to use this little keyboard up here just because I prefer that, but you can do everything from here from this app. The bank's all set up. So let's go into the song mode again and set up a loop in song mode. I'm going to change the tempo to 84. Bank A is track A. That's going to be, activate the metronome, the count in. Alright, we've got our basic beat recorded here in song mode, and you can see the MIDI notes there. I'm going to quantize that, okay? Use the selection tool down in the lower left, select your MIDI notes, and add a little swing because it sounds too rigid to me, it's too stiff. There we go. So a little swing, 18%. Always add a touch of swing. Sometimes you don't need that much in this case. Alright, so now we have a bass track, and I'm gonna apply some swing to that as well. Now here's the thing. Alright, it's getting there. I recorded this on the same track with the drums. Now if you do that by mistake and you want to copy this over to a new track, it's pretty simple. You already have it selected because we just quantized it. So hit copy, boom, until that paste button appears. Okay, now delete. Go back to your song, add a new track, create new bank, okay? Load vinyl. Load your vinyl kit. Now there's your bank with the samples and all that set. Oops. Set up a loop in the sequencer here and paste. Boom. That easy. So now your bass is on a separate track. Okay. And that'll give you more control over mixing later on. And let's rename it. Let's name it bass. Again, real quick, probably not the most efficient way to do things, but definitely a way to do things, and as you can see, a quick way to do things. Just giving you a general idea here. So now we have more control over the mix. If we want, we could add some effects to the tracks. Maybe look at all these cool effects. Beatmaker 3 rocks. How about a compressor? And slap a little compression on that bad boy. You can go in and refine your kit now. Go and tune the ride. Adjust the gain on that ride. And I might add a little saturation to the snare drum. So yeah, of course, there's a lot you can do. I'm just giving you an idea. There's so much you can do in terms of mixing and editing and taking this simple loop to another level. So now that we have those two tracks recorded, of course we're going to save, right? You want to save everything. Finally, last but not least, save and include all the files. Alright, so that pretty much sums it up. Real simple. The basics of sampling vinyl with an iPad using Beatmaker 3. This is Jason Donnelly, DJ Puzzle for iPadLoops.com. And I got 1,900 subscribers now. Thank you, everyone. You guys, you're really making it happen for me, and I really appreciate the support. I got 5 new patrons on my Patreon, and I want to shout out and say thank you to them. Thanks for watching.